Hello everybody. I am going to try doing this quick live stream. There's still a thunderstorm going on around here in Fayette County, Georgia, and northern Georgia, I might add, or tornado watches all over the place. So, as you can tell by my wide must go on. And if this headline has grabbed your attention, because it should grab your attention. It's a big problem. Uh, every financial report that has been published with respect to the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority has included the variations of this disclaimer. And it's not really a disclaimer, it's more of an ominous warning. The trouble is that the number gets bigger with each successive year of this thing, okay? And it's, excuse me, I don't know if your screen is cloudy or not. Let me try something here. One moment, please. I'm going to try a different connection device and see if I can get you a better screen. Hold on a second. Hey, how you doing? Is that better? Yeah, that's better. Okay, great. Yeah, that's better. Sorry, I was trying to get rid of that blur. What happens is that when I have, it's coming and going, and trying to improve the live stream experience for you as I go here. I don't know why that's happening, but sometimes it does happen. And I find that now it's clearing up. It's going back and forth. Maybe if I unplug one of these, excuse me, so I unplug that, see if maybe it gives a different reading. And so it gives me a clearer picture. Let's see, it's clearing. Okay, let's see here. Bear with me, folks. Don't know why that's happening. Is this blurry for you? I'm just asking. Hey, 32 Assassin, is this blurry for you? Is it a little blurry over there? Just asking. It is? Okay, let me try something here. Blurry. Yeah, let me try something. Hold on a second. Why that is. I'm back. And I'm refreshing this page. Let's see if that's better. That's better. Okay, yeah. I had to basically restart the phone. Okay, so I'm back. Restarted the phone. Picture's clearer. Much better. Cool. Yeah. All right. Let me read to you what one normally finds. In fact, I'll read to you just what I wrote so that you don't have to worry about reading it downstairs. Everyone's focused on the Oakland Raiders in Las Vegas as if the NFL team's not even playing in Oakland. But not only the Raiders playing in Oakland in 2018 and in 19 and through 2020, the Silver and Black are still also on the hook for repaying the $54 million loan received from the Oakland Alameda County Joint Powers Authority in 1996. Yep, with all the discussing and fussing about the Raiders needing a new stadium and relocating, the Coliseum JPA auditors, Joint Powers Authority, have quietly, though visibly, counted up what the Raiders owe with interest and on an annual basis. The 2016 Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority financial report has this ominous paragraph on page 6. Basis for adverse opinions on governmental activities and the Special Revenue Fund, as discussed in Note 4 to the basic financial statements, the authority has loans receivable from the Oakland Raiders in the amount of $155,500,000 $562,629 as of June 30th, 2016. These loans have increased in the amount of $6,890,325 in fiscal year 2016 and have increased a total of $92,366,439 since the inception of these loans in 50th fiscal year 1996. The authority has not adopted a methodology for reviewing the collectability of Raider loans receivable reported in the government activities and the major special revenue fund, and accordingly has not evaluated the recoverability of these loans through the maturity date in fiscal year 2036. Accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America require that an adequate allowance be provided for uncollectible receivables, which would decrease the assets, net position / fund balance, and the change in net position fund balance in governmental activities and the major special revenue fund. The amount by which this departure would affect the assets, net position / fund balance, and change in net position fund balance of the governmental activities and the major special revenue fund has not been determined. And I go on and I write that, in other words, at that point, the Raiders owed $155,562,629 as of June 30th, 2016, the most readily available date posted on the Coliseum Joint Powers Authority website. What this is a loan that originally started as $63,196,990 in 1996 and has steadily increased by what the auditor reports was $6,890,325 and is now at, as of that point, 2016, $155,562,629. I have found that will grow to be valued at $218,758,819 by the loans in date of 2036, according to the report. The simple fact is, the Coliseum Joint Powers Authority's financial auditor sees this as a true loan and has started the 2015 and 2016 financial reports, with a variation of that paragraph you just read, you just heard me read, okay? Regardless of the fact the Coliseum JPA has, quote, not considered the need to provide an adequate allowance for uncollectible amounts, the fact is the monies are a loan to the Raiders that has not been repaid. It is also a fact that the Coliseum JPA has not taken up the issue. This clearly is something that should be brought to the attention of the City of Oakland and County of Alameda and to determine how best to resolve the matter. But the clear facts are these. The loan to the Raiders is mentioned as just that. It continues to accrue interest on an annual basis, and it stops doing so in the year 2036. It is also clear the Raiders were expected to pay down the loan by the action of paying the Coliseum JPA its share of revenues. What's that total? And what's the outstanding amount absent the estimated back payments? A big problem, one worth $218 million. Stay tuned, all right? That's the issue, okay? 32 Assassin says, bad look for the JPA. I agree. How could they let this go without any remittance from the franchise? The team hasn't paid anything. Plus, what about the parking fees owed? Am I wrong? Well, you're right and wrong. The loan, as I recall, having been there from the start, was a non-recourse loan. And non-recourse means that there are certain activities that are attached to it. And as I recall, and I'm sure if I go back to the master lease agreement, it will say that the Raiders were basically paying back the loan through operations, through payments of a share of revenues from such things as concessions and parking to the JPA. The question is, what's that total over time? Okay. Now, for parking, yeah, they're in arrears by several million. But when that came up, the bigger issue of this loan, of this non-recourse loan, non-recourse does not mean you don't pay it back. Non-recourse means it's attached to a particular leasehold or set of actions that's attached to a particular thing of value. Okay, is what it means colloquially. All right. That was that. The fact that that hasn't been dealt with is a pox on both parties, on the JPA and the Raiders. And the reason is that the Raiders can't just simply walk away saying, hey, look, we don't have an obligation, because the auditor says, hey, look, you have an obligation. It's right there. You can't miss it. It's in black and white. It's front and center. It needs to be dealt with. It's right there, okay? And so the why this hasn't been resolved, I also blame myself for not pointing a finger to it earlier, because, you know, I've seen the reports before. I just never bothered to actually pay attention to the thing there. And I had no reason to assume this wasn't taken care of, so I never even stopped to think about, to read it. I just didn't. But this time, it just quite simply just jumped out at me. Boom. There it is. Not only that, look, the JPA, when it chooses to agendize something, causes the public to pay attention to that something. This hasn't been agendized. Okay? This hasn't been agendized. So it's just hanging out there. Like the parking issue was just hanging out there. This isn't the first time that the Coliseum JPA has had a look of mismanagement. This goes back as far as the history of the JPA, before the JPA. I believe in 1986, if memory serves, we had a chief financial officer that wound up in jail for some improprieties. We've had a succession of executive directors. Prior to the Coliseum JPA being just that, it was the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum board, okay? And the board president was George Rucassen. Something I should turn to Elihu and ask him about too. But under George, he handled everything really close to the vest. It pissed the city council off because they couldn't get him to really come to council and give a report. Then after the Raiders came back, Ignacio de la Fuente was the president of the Oakland City Council. And Ignacio said, hey, look, it's our money now because of the bond issue that was floated to bring the Raiders back, that was supposed to be paid all by PSLs. Remember that? Oh, all the PSL money is going to cover it. It's no problem. The taxpayer won't feel a thing. Well, the taxpayer did feel a thing. And the taxpayer's still feeling a thing. So at that point, the person who ran the Coliseum was Ezra Rapport. That was 1996. Then we went from Ezra Rapport running it to Mark Kaufman from SMG. And then Mark gave way to Bonnie. And then we had for a time, and I always wanted to run the Coliseum. I was never given a chance. I wanted to run it, but Ignacio didn't want me to run it. That was in 1997, going to 98. And then they had Ezra doing it. Then they had Ezra, Mark Kaufman. For a time, we had, who I thought he did a decent job, Doug Thornton of SMG, and that was the mid second part. That was 2011 to 2014, and thereabouts. Yeah, 2011, 2014. And then we switched to AEG, okay? So in total, over the past, 20 years, and then we had Dina McClain for most of it. Dina McClain. And so Dina McClain was a very good bond attorney that the county insisted be the head of the JPA because they were comfortable with her. I remember, I'll never forget Dina, God love her, August 25th of 1999. I'm in a meeting with Alameda County Supervisor Scott Haggerty. Sound familiar? Note the date, August 25th, 1999, okay? Alameda County Supervisor Scott Haggerty, Oakland City Councilman Larry Reed, all right? Alameda County Chief Administrative Officer Susan Marinici was there, and Dina McClain. And all these folks are still in that position now, and this is 2018. So I remember Dina, I'm sitting here. You've got Scott Haggerty sitting right here, right? And Larry Reed sitting over here. Susan Marinici sitting over there. And Dina McClain sitting right over there. And she says, I don't get this thing called sports sponsorship. She was the person running the Coliseum. And yet she said that at our meeting discussing Super Bowl sports sponsorships. So, okay. So, Rick Gray says, it seems that if Oakland and AC and Alameda County just didn't bend over and let all sports teams take what they want, they threaten to move. This seems like such a joke. And it's why I'm trying to sound the alarm in Las Vegas, because a lot of people there are exhibiting very much the same behavior that got us into trouble. They're bending over for the Raiders, not asking any questions and getting upset with people who do. Not asking any questions about the deal, assuming everything is correct and people with titles know more than the average bear, and that's not true, especially not in an internet age. So 32 Assassin says, if Oakland ever wants to be considered a first-class town, the officials need to clean it up and come together on a vision for the future, forget the past. Well, I think in order to move into the future, you have to pay attention to the past. This is solidly about paying attention to the past. And this has to be dealt with. Because at some point, this number is going to get too big that someone's going to turn around and say, hey, look, wait. Because if the Raiders are allowed to skip town, all right, guess what, folks? That loan is not going to stop accruing interest at all. It's just going to keep going and going and going. And in the future, someone else is going to point at this and say, what the fuck is going on, right? It is a clear sign of a gigantic problem, and one that should be addressed. And I'm bringing attention to it. Now, this is on the Coliseum JPA to explain. It really is. It's on the Raiders to have it explained to them as well, because the Raiders have to know it's out there. They've got their name on it. Rick Gray says, I don't care about Las Vegas politics or what they got themselves into, the Mark Davis and the Raiders. Oakland 1981 found out, Los Angeles found out, Irwindale found out. Right. And here we go. And in that instance, the chief financial officer for Clark County is Jessica Colvin, and she's the person who gave an interview to Rich Velota of the Las Vegas Review-Journal on Sunday, and made some statements I thought were absolutely sloppy for a chief financial officer. Look, Clark County's own website has its debt policy written in black and white, downloadable for anyone to see, and it says in black and white that it's only going to backstop $650 million of $750 million bond issue. And if you take the debt service for even that $650 million bond issue times 1.15, all right, you get your debt coverage ratio, you get a hurdle rate, even at that level, that the numbers for February, even if they are at someone said they were 4.8 million. 4.8 million just happens to be exactly the rate, okay? The hurdle rate. If it's that. Now, Sisolak said it was 3 million. And then January was 4.3 million, which means it was less. So they can't handle that bond issue, Okay, they can't handle it. See, I misspoke. Yeah, no, that's correct. They can't handle that bond issue. Okay, so it's not. And then you start looking at the fact that what I just quoted to you is at a double A rating. If this bond issue comes in at single A, it's going to be more expensive in terms of debt service, which means that you're going to have, when you take 1.5, that hurdle rate per month is going to be even greater, and there's nothing to indicate, well, the past almost year of collection of this tax, well, a year coming this March, that it can handle that. So, Ed, thanks, Ed, appreciate your accuracy in reporting. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you. I'm trying. Um, Rick Gray says, what is the JPA and Oakland options with regard to these outstanding bond issues to remodel both stadiums? Both the Warriors and the Raiders are now bolting. Isn't there a legal word to protect us? Well, that's a great question. Let me explain something here. There's a difference between what I'm talking about, which is a loan. This is entirely different than the bond issue. Okay. Now, and this is something like Rebecca Kaplan and I were talking about a week ago Monday. And her point, which I think is well taken, is that the basic argument is, hey, with both the Warriors and the Raiders, hey, you know what? You induced us to float these bonds, and therefore this is on your responsibility. You can't just say, oh, we're not supposed to repay this. It's supposed to come out of take your pick, tax revenues of the general fund. It's the matter that were it not for the interest of the Raiders, the tacit interest of the Raiders in trying to come back to Oakland and basically giving a thumbs up or thumbs down, based on a bond deal structure, were it not for that, the bonds would not have been floated and all these other problems would not have started. Same is true for Vegas, okay? And the Raiders, because the Raiders openly said, hey, look, you know what? We don't want anything less than $750 million or we walk. And the SNTIC should have called their bluff, said, bye-bye. But they didn't do it, okay? They did not do it. They did not do it. So now I'm speaking as if they have actually signed on to put the bond out there, and they haven't. But it's alarming to me that the chief financial officer for Clark County would just so cavalierly, go out there and say, oh, I think these numbers can work for these bond issues. And then you have these supposed Raider fans, which I'm not sure if they're actually fans at all, who live in Ontario, Canada, not even Oakland, people you've never heard of, or maybe they're from Carolina or Houston, okay, just quoting stuff they read and saying, well, they say that they're over projections. They're talking about the waterfall, and they're not talking about the ability to cover a bond issue. And they're talking about where they wanted to be with respect to raising money for the waterfall. And really, if you take them at their word for it, the waterfall money should be collected for another year. They shouldn't be rushing into a bond issue in April. But, here we are. So there's a lot of, I'll just say, dishonest brokering going on. There really is. And so Ed says, I appreciate your accuracy of what's going on with our Oakland Raiders. I still think this deal will collapse. Why did they take out a $5 million bond for deconstruction if Vegas is a sure thing? Well, right. Well, it's because of examples like the Fontainebleau and others. I always say this. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Have faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. Don't have faith in someone else because they have a title. You're going to be, with respect to a development project, you will be disappointed again and again and again. It's just not the way to go. 32 Assassin writes, a lot of dishonest, unhappy, sloppy reporting too. Yeah, it really is. I mean, and that's why I was getting after Rich Villoda of the Review Journal. I mean, I have nothing personally against Rich, but I do have something against a publication not taking its power seriously and making certain that people know its biases. For example, Ed Graney came out to see me, who's of the Review Journal. I like Ed. And, Ed said, hey, you know what? I can't talk about Shalnado, so I'll get fired. So I respect that. Okay? The Review Journal needs to say exactly where it's coming from. First of all, it's owned by Sheldon Adelson, and it chooses to take a line that it believes its boss wants it to take. And the question remains, is the boss still involved? How far is this being allowed to get as far as it is because he's sitting back, maybe putting money in on the side? If not, say so. It doesn't look like it, given all the debts the Raiders are incurring. But others point out to me that, like Sisolak is fast-tracking this. He's running for governor. This is going to wear negatively on him. I have to say, as a lifelong Democrat, I'm very disappointed with the behavior of some of the older line Democrats here who look like they're pushing something that's not in the favor of the taxpayer, and that has nothing to do with social welfare. It has nothing to do with, and I'm a big proponent of spending money for stadium projects, but do it the way that was done in San Francisco with respect to AT&T Park, where you had the redevelopment agency which owned the land, wrote down the land so the Giants could afford it. They did their part, and they helped develop what was once a moribund area into the place to be, South Beach in San Francisco, one of the places to be in the Bay Area to this day. That's an example of positive, sports-oriented economic development. We could have done and can still do the same thing in Oakland if we direct the A's and work with them the right way, rather than allowing them to skip all over town and wreak havoc politically. We could have done the same thing with the Raiders. We probably still can. Or the Warriors are a lost cause because the late, rest in peace, Ed Lee, San Francisco mayor, was appropriately aggressive. Economic development is about aggression, and that aggression is killing us in Oakland. So I don't harbor any illusions about this working out to where the Raiders stick, okay, in Oakland, because I'm still concerned that Oakland lacks the will and the initiative to complete big projects. That's not what my concern is about. My concern is about making absolutely certain that the people of Las Vegas don't get hoodwinked like we did, okay? However that comes out to be, the Raiders wind up spending more, they wind up staying in Oakland, whatever. The bottom line is the truth about this deal and the necessity to have safeguards must be there. But I'm saying to you right now, I don't have any faith in Oakland's ability to get its act together in terms of building a stadium. And I certainly hope I'm wrong. But what's going on is I'll be 56 this year. I tried to bring the Super Bowl to Oakland in '99. Yeah, I've seen now almost two generations of Oakland acting like you can't do what San Francisco can do. And at some point, you have to say uncle. And maybe I'm just getting to the point where I'm just saying uncle. Okay? But there are so many problems with these deals. You have to drill down and look at them and then fix the issue at a microscopic level. Forget everything else, but it's the microscopic fix. That's what I'm after. I'm after the microscopic fix. Fix these things so that it works properly for the next person, or if it doesn't work properly for the next person, stay in Oakland, rehabilitate the Coliseum, develop a true community gathering place that celebrates the history of Oakland and makes us proud and has affordable ticket levels. Okay? All right? But right now, I'm stuck on these one issues of numbers and money, and they are big problems, gigantic problems. And Jessica Colvin, the chief financial officer of Clark County, ought to be ashamed of herself ashamed of herself for rubber stamping this. I sent her an email. I was supposed to hear from her. I'm taking the email that I put out on Monday, and I'm making it public on Tuesday. You will see exactly what I wrote to her and the questions that I have. And I might add, the treasurer of Nevada, that's right, Dan Schwartz, is going to be at Thursday's Las Vegas Stadium Authority meeting. He's going to be there. I can't wait. Yeah. Okay. So, Crawford says, does Sisolak even realize the new wave of Democrats is entirely different than it was years ago? Vision and fortitude. I don't think he does. Crawford says, if the Oakland people want real change, start cleaning house when the opportunity is there at the polls. Yeah. No, these Democrats don't get it. And that's why you have Cynthia Nixon now wanting to run for governor of New York, you know, because she's tired of Andrew Cuomo and using his power base in a way that she believes is inappropriate and not for women. So, yeah, folks are tired because they're tired of trying to make ends meet. They're tired of getting the message that only tech people can get jobs and make money and that sort of thing. You know, they're had it. You have people who are, in some cases, so mentally screwed up, they're turning to opioid drug use, and it's a problem. And, you know, we haven't got a handle on this stuff, and we have to. All this ties together, you know, it really does. So, Crawford says, Clark County and Nevada people need to do the same thing also in terms of cleaning house. Yep. Pedro Gallardo, however, he says, how much of a roadblock is this for the Raiders going to be to Las Vegas? I don't know. I know it's there because what I'm talking about, once again, is a document that anybody can look at. This isn't made up. It's not pie in the sky. It's right there in our collective faces, and it stares at us all the time. Okay? So, it needs to be dealt with. It really does. All right, so it's more money is just piling up. Yeah, that's right. All right, so it's now 1:51 in the morning here. We had a tornado warning. We had a tornado watch, which turned into a tornado warning. Then went downstairs. Then it went to a severe thunderstorm warning. Now that's over. It's quiet here right now. I just hope it stays that way. I'm exhausted from all this. But I'll talk about this more tomorrow, but I wanted to get this out there today, okay? Crawford says tomorrow might be a snowstorm. In Atlanta? God, I hope not. Boy, oh boy, I hope not. It'll be crazy. Mike Lowry says the Warriors are leaving because Joe Lacob is an elitist. He doesn't value the real Golden State Warriors fans. If you're not white and white color, GFW ownership doesn't value. They tried to give SF the parade. Yeah, I remember that. 32 Assassins is good stuff to see. Thanks, Mike. Glad to have you, man. I got to shove off the Buffalo, get some rest. Thank you all for tuning in. Spread the word. Hey, more coming. See you guys later. Put this on your Facebook page.